Hey, and welcome to the Meditations and Musings podcast. I'm Elena Lipson. I'm a mama, I'm a wife, and I'm the founder of the Divine Self-Care Circle membership and the Virtual Retreat Academy. I don't believe that you have to sacrifice your body, your health, or your family in order to create true abundance and prosperity. I believe in living based on the divine feminine metrics of success, and these include pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. Each week, I'll bring you 1 to 2 new episodes. One of these will be a guided meditation that you don't have to do on the meditation pillow, and the other will be a conversation to help you access your inner wisdom, to ignite abundance, and inspire others to do the same. I invite you to join me on this journey back to the magic of a divinely aligned and well cared for you. And now, join me for today's episode.
Welcome to the Meditations and Musings podcast. This is your divinely aligned host, Elena Lipson, and I'm here to help activate you to trust yourself, to be in alignment with what is most important to you. And today I want to talk about letting go of the thing or experience that is ready to go. And I want to start by sharing with you an experience. You might have seen, if you're following me on the social medias, that a few weeks ago I went to a retreat in Arizona with an amazing group of women. It was led by 2 women who I adore, who are absolutely magical. And during this retreat, and there was so many takeaways, but I want to share one specifically today that I think will serve you really well and has started to unravel my world in the best way possible on purpose with intention. So one of the takeaways for me was this concept we talked about called entropy, E-N-T-R-O-P-Y, which has other definitions, but for this purpose, it's one of the definitions is a gradual decline or death of something. It's a very natural process, and entropy begins like the moment something is created, or when you decide that something's over. That's when entropy begins. So, for example, there's many ways to look at this. Like once you make the decision, there's this moment afterwards, right? Whether you decide to act on that decision, whether you decide to commit fully, come what may, doesn't matter. You're going for this. You're either letting go of something, you're leaving a job, you're leaving a relationship, you're starting something new, you decided that you're going to change your business, some change in your relationship to yourself and your external world. Or whether you're going to allow the excuses that are very natural that are going to pop up, the excuses, the reasons of your ego and your mind to actually minimize the truth of that decision, the truth of the decision, right? And we don't make decisions super lightly, right? Once you know your own decision-making process and you hear that inner part of yourself, that part that you trust, that part that knows you, that part that you connect with through meditation, through nature, through movement, through sleep, right? That part of you that knows the truth. Once you make the decision, your ego kicks in to minimize it. For example, like when you know a relationship is over, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, and you've even decided in your mind, like, this is it, it's over. But it's easier in some ways to stay, right? And I'm not talking about like an abusive relationship. That is a very different situation because something doesn't have to be terrible in order for you to leave, right? But staying versus facing the discomfort of disappointing someone or the conflict of the exit can actually create quite a bit of stress within your body. And like I said, the trickiest thing about this is that the thing or the situation that you're in or the person or the business that you're ready to leave or home or city, whatever it is, fill in the blank that you're ready to leave and let go of. It doesn't have to be bad or evil or wrong. It is just no longer for you, right? And this is where life can really pivot. Stagnation is not an option because stagnation is not even true. Life is never stagnant. It's either in entropy or in creation, right? It's either in entropy and death or in birth and creation. That's it. And the reason why your relationship starts to feel off or your business starts to feel off or the place that you live starts to feel off is because you've already kicked off the process of entropy. And it no longer feels like the alive beautiful thing that it once did, because you've already decided that it's over, right? And staying or going is a choice. It's not easy, but it's a choice, right? And the reason it's so difficult is several reasons. One is judgment, right? We fear judgment of other people and what they're going to say. We've been taught that, winners never quit and quitters never win, but that's not what we're talking about here. You can change your mind a million times. The only thing that's stopping you from changing your mind in a way that feels good to you is the fear of other people's judgment, their opinions, what they're going to think. I want you to really think about this. When was the last time, or actually think about something right now that you're ready to release. I guarantee you there's something that you're done with, whether it's a way of being, whether it's a way of thinking, whether it's an actual, relationship, something. Maybe it's part of your business if you're an entrepreneur. Maybe you want to find a new job. But as soon as you start thinking about the thing that you want to let go of, almost immediately you can hear either a few or a certain voice in your mind. One is that ego, like I mentioned, telling you why you should just stay cozy and comfy. But the other voices are these people around you that might not even say what you think they're going to say, but in your mind, you're fearing their judgment. And the truth is, nobody's thinking about anyone all that much, right? Everyone's thinking about their own lives. So it's us, our own ego who makes up these stories about other people and how they're going to react, right? It's almost like we don't even trust them to trust us because we don't trust ourselves enough, right? They're mirroring to us what we ourselves don't want to admit to ourselves. So releasing this thing requires a surrender, a deep surrender into the shadows of the unknown, into the possibility of judgment, into not giving a shit what other people think about us, which is life's work for most of us, right? Me included. But it also on the positive side, it requires curiosity and wonder and trusting, right? This is where that spiritual practice comes in. This is why the lead thing that I will teach for the rest of my life is this morning mastery of your morning, the morning magic morning practice, because that's where you align to what you know is true. That's where you cultivate the courage, you cultivate that wonder and juiciness of life, right? And once you have that, you can start to release and let go over and over and over again, because to trust yourself in this way, it requires epic self-care so that you have the inner and outer fortitude and capacity to hold and receive what is next, right? It requires deep acceptance of what is now the truth of the decision that you made, so that you can see clearly with your eyes and beyond your eyes. You can hear beyond your ears. You can sense beyond your senses, and you release the correct aspects, not the things that other people think you need to let go of, what you know is right for you. This is your life, right? And then from that place of letting go, you can create space for what is whispering to be born. And the thing is, it can take a year, a decade, or a moment, but it's always happening, the entropy or the creation. What I was saying was that entropy is always happening, or creation, right? And I want to just give you permission to take your time with this, right? This middle place of where you know that something's over, or this place where you're starting to dream into what's possible, is a really beautiful place. It's also a very messy place called the messy middle, right? This is where you must have the inner courage to hold still long enough to listen, right? Because it's very, very tempting to just go into action and start to cut the roots of things and let things go. And sometimes, life does require you to do that. But as you get to know yourself better, as you start to really understand where your decision making is rooted, it's very important to hold still in silence, still in nature, still within yourself, still within your journaling, still within your asking yourself good questions and giving yourself time to answer. That is where that courage is cultivated. The capacity to do more, be more, have more of what you want is birthed, right? This is the magical place of quantum leap, the shifting sands of life that we all must navigate, right? But the question is, will you commit? because the decision is just one step, right? But the commitment through action, through step by step by step, is where the alignment happens. When you make a decision and you don't take action, and the entropy is still happening, because it is, that's where suffering comes in. That's where your fear comes in. That's when all the stories come in about what you can do or what you can't do and what other people think you can and can't do. And the only remedy for this is that you must trust, you must surrender, right? Because we think once we make the decision that something's over, there's a part of us that wants to actually control the entropy. Oh, well, it should take this long, or it should take that long, or I'm going to do it here. But that's not how the spiritual realm works. Once you decide something's over and you put it into the universe, I'm telling you, things start to happen. New opportunities come, new temptations come in. Like it starts to show up, because that's how decision making happens. And when you start to make that decision, but you don't have the backup commitment, that's when you get into this again, not the good messy middle, but the place of like deep inner misalignment. Because only you know the answer and the timing of when something's supposed to be let go. But once you decide that something is over and you don't do anything about it, that's when the suffering starts. But if you decide that something is over and you decide this is my next step, and you only really need to know the very next step. You don't need to know the next 22 steps, because that's, I think, where people get caught up in trying to control the entropy, to control the release. All you need to know is the very next step. You make a decision, you decide, okay, I'm leaving that job, I'm going to start my own business. The only next step you know is by when, right? By when? Okay, this is the next date. And then the next choice is, okay, great. If this is true by then, what exactly do I need to have in place by then? And then you start making your list, and you go list, by thing, right? If you try to just quit on day one, you made the decision, and then all of a sudden you're like home and you're like, shit, I have to pay my rent and I have to pay my bills, right? Like you're putting yourself into a place of no decision, because once you cut off in a way that isn't thoughtful, you're actually validating why you shouldn't have cut that thing off, right? So there's a smart process that you can take when you decide something's over, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, or anything else in your life, or a way of thinking or a way of being, right? And no one can do this for you. So again, just to recap, entropy versus creation. Entropy begins when you decide something's over, and then you have a choice of action or no action. If it is action, then you are surrendering and trusting to the timing, and all you need to know is the very next step. If you're not taking action, this is where the suffering begins, the fear and the stories start to rise up. So ask yourself this question, right? What is needing to be released? What am I ready to shift out of and into? And just spend some time with this, because you don't have to, again, sometimes you do have to clear off your whole desk and throw out your wardrobe and start over. That's fine. And you will start over many times in life. But if you're doing it from a place of panic, if you're doing it from a place of not enoughness, that's where the danger of making decisions that you're going to regret almost instantly happen, right? This is where, again, you have to have the inner courage to hold still, make the decision that you know is true for you, commit to holding still long enough to listen to what the next step is. That's the trick. That's the momentary trick right there. So I would love to hear from you. What did this bring up for you? What did this create for you in terms of possibility? And if you need some support, please let me know. I've been a coach for many, many years, decades. And this is where I love to spend time with my clients to really check in and find that truth of commitment and decision and moving forward. So in the meantime, thank you for being here today, and thank you for listening. I would love to hear from you. You can take a screenshot of this episode, share it on Instagram, and tag me at Elena_Lipson. And if you are listening to this on June 1st, which is my birthday, then go ahead and head over to the bio of my Instagram account and grab my birthday bundles for self-care courses. And that'll be available through 10 p.m. Pacific time on June 1st. And if you missed it, sorry, hopefully there's next year. And I do other fun promotions throughout the year. So thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening and learning about the new divine self-care way of being in your life, business, and the bedroom based on the divine feminine metrics of success: pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. If you're ready to bust the myth of overwhelm and tap into an inspired start to each day, I've put together a free video series for you to help you start each day with energy, inspiration, and ignite that inner pilot light which attracts joy, magic, and synchronicity. You can access my 3-step magic morning practice to help you ignite your inner light and attract the abundance that you're craving. Head on over to elenalipson.com/gift. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would so love if you share it with a friend, a sister, a mother, a daughter, and please leave a review. That is how the magic starts to ripple out. Here's wishing you a day full of beauty, magic, and divine self-care. I'll see you next time at the Meditations and Musings podcast.